For a look at the state of the battleground race, I'm joined by Zine Jano, pollster and professor of campaign management at NYU, and also Sarah Isgur-Flores, former deputy campaign manager for Carly Fiorina, and Hari Sevugan, former national press secretary for the DNC and senior spokesman for the Obama 2008 campaign. To all three of you, thank you for being with me. Let's jump into this. And Jeannie, I want to start with you since you're here next to me and looking at these numbers here from the latest battleground states. And we're looking at the scope of all three here. In Pennsylvania, Clinton is up by 9 points. In Ohio, Clinton and Trump tied in Florida. And then when it comes to Virginia, Clinton is up by 7. Actually, yeah, there we go. In Virginia, Clinton is up by 9 before she chose Tim Kaine. So you think these numbers are going to hold now that we are post-RNC and DNC?
You know, I think she's going to get a bounce out of the convention, certainly, and that will impact some of these swing states. I don't know how much it's going to hold. There have also been some numbers out there that are not strong for Clinton. We see Nate Silver now, the 538. His simulation is showing that Donald Trump up 20% when you look at the likelihood of him winning. So he's almost neck and neck with her, according to Nate Silver. So some of the numbers are not looking in favor of Clinton, and that's despite the fact that everyone agrees the Democrats had a much better convention, a much better rollout.
Why is
that? And that's exactly the question. I think there are other longer-term trends working against her, and not just her untrustworthiness, which is high, and not just the fact that people feel that she's dishonest, and not just the fact that her negatives are higher than they've been since 1996. So there are numbers working against Clinton, and let's not forget ad spending. They are outspending the Republicans by far, and yet still Trump is holding on there. And if you look at some of the head-to-heads like CNN, he is doing even much better.
Interesting when it comes to the ad spending here on what Hillary Clinton has pulled. And Hari, I want to ask you about that. Donald Trump in Colorado, where the state this week, the Clinton campaign pulled those ads really there because it showed polls there up by 8. Smart move at this point?
Yeah, no, they're going to spend their money wisely, and I think there is going to be a little bit of a bounce. We saw there's just been one nationwide poll. It's been an online poll by Raba that came out this morning that showed a 10-point bounce, where Hillary's up by 15. But these numbers are going to be ephemeral. Convention bounces are ephemeral. But what I think the convention successfully did is really frame the general election the next 100 days. This is no longer a Democrat versus Republican campaign. This is democracy versus authoritarianism. This is Americanism versus Trumpism. And that's going to be what this campaign is going to be about going forward. The Clinton campaign, the other thing I think that successfully came out of this convention was there's going to be talk about squad goals. There's going to be a surrogate team of Michelle and Barack Obama, Joe and Jill Biden, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren that are going to go out with a unified party, talk to the base, but also what's important is expand outside, reach out to the middle, reach out to independent voters. Donald Trump's not doing that. He continues to just rally his base, not reach out to the middle. And that's a problem for him, especially with this electoral math.
Well, I'm also wondering why he didn't take advantage of this weekend to do that. Because, Sarah, you have President Obama, who won Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida 2012. Which of those states is Trump most likely to pick up? And is this a wasted opportunity this weekend that he's now physically out in these states?
Well, we're talking about him, so I think he's clearly campaigning in his own special way. I think that the Clinton campaign from the beginning has underestimated Donald Trump. I think they're shocked that they are tied with him in most of these polls, and I'm not sure they know what to do. I think you look at some of these states and you look at the Clinton campaign's reaction, and they're flabbergasted because they're surrounded by people who are all voting for Hillary Clinton. So I think we do have a problem that others have documented very well. We're moving into this almost bubble-type state where people who are voting for Trump know people who are voting for Trump, and people who are voting for Hillary only know people who are voting for Hillary. I think that's really bad for the Clinton campaign if they want to make progress in this.
Well, especially with the independents, especially with those still Bernie supporters that she could win over. Here's what Trump said last night about Bernie Sanders. Let's take a listen.
Did you see Bernie last night, how angry he was? I don't like to see that. It's bad for your health. He was so angry. They were talking about him, and he was scowling. And his wife put her hand on his shoulder, and he didn't move, and she took it off because she could see. You know why? He sold his soul to the devil. That's right. He sold his soul to the devil. He shouldn't have made that deal.
All right, so Donald Trump is saying that, Jeannie, but you have the Hillary Clinton campaign. Are they satisfied with the outcome of the convention as far as unity going, especially when it comes to these Bernie supporters booing her during her speech and knowing that this is something that she would love to be able to rally over to her side?
Yeah, I mean, they can't be satisfied with how this turned out. You saw the protest. You saw the protest when she won that historic roll call and they walked out of the stadium, or the arena, if you will. They can't be satisfied with how this is going. They're really going to be focused on trying to get the Bernie supporters in the key states over on her side, but they also have the problem of Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, who are pulling away some of these Bernie supporters as well. It's not just Donald Trump out there, and you look at the polls, and while they are way down in the polls, they are pulling some numbers, and the question is going to be in those swing states, can they pull enough to make an impact? I will tell you where the Clinton team has a huge advantage is on the ground. They not only have much more money, they are much better organized, and we saw that with the convention in terms of how they rolled that out. The problem is their candidate on the top is not engendering the kind of excitement and the kind of, energy that they would like to have, given all the advantages she has when you look at it from just a strategic perspective of a campaign. And that's something you really can't change, right? You can't change the candidate at the top. And Hillary Clinton did everything she could at the convention, and yet we're still waiting to see if he gets a bounce, but that bounce might not be enough to pull this thing through. Just 100 days left now until the campaign.
Well, let's see if Donald Trump takes that and run, because we know that there are efforts now in fundraising and even trying to get the Koch brothers involved with their retreat and seeing if there'll be a change of heart there. Sarah, you have a pro-Trump super PAC that began airing ads in battleground states this week, one focusing on American workers, the others on Clinton's paid speeches and transcripts. So what other messages out there would you see the Trump campaign putting out there in the future?
Well, obviously, we've seen that fundraising hasn't been particularly important to the Trump campaign, either to them to raise the money or actually to their success. I think that Donald Trump's message has worked up to this point. It's worked in the primary, and it's working now, at least, to be tied with Clinton. He's the guy who doesn't say what everyone else says. It's, I think, a massive problem for Hillary Clinton in that she is so careful. She is so calculating. She comes off as a politician through and through. People are sick of that. That's why they see her as corrupt.
All right, well, we will see as this now goes forward, 100 days left. September 26th, the first debate, how that'll all come out to play, and hope to get the opportunity to talk to you all again. Jeannie Zaino, Sarah Edgar Flores, and Hari Sevugan, thank you so much for all being with me. Still to come, how you can get into one of this year's most anticipated concerts. And be sure to stay with us next hour. Chanel Jones will be with you. She'll be joined by a cybersecurity expert to discuss the latest on the hack of Democratic groups and the possible political motives behind the attack.